Knights at the Round Table, a round-table discussion on speculative fiction books and film.
Hello, and welcome to Knights at the Round Table. My name is not Sonia Carrière, and today we'll be talking about Blood Relations by Nathan Caro Fréchette, written as Caroline Fréchette. There we go, I got it all out.
Yay, good job.
Disclaimer, I know the author very well. I consider him a very good friend. Also, we're published by the same publisher.
Disclaimer, I am that publisher, business partner with Nathan. This is not going to be an objective review at all.
Yeah. Well, my review is relatively objective because I read this and I reviewed it before I really became friends with anyone. Mm-hmm. So I will say it's objective.
I was part of a writing group with Nathan before we began the Renaissance.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I was listening to him read from Blood Relations.
Oh, that must have been awesome. He's got a great reading.
It was, yeah.
Ability, voice, tone thing. I need more
great,
coffee.
so yeah.
Okay. So, initial thoughts. What did you think of it when you first heard it read? Because this is really not your style.
No, it is not my style at all. But I really liked it, and I don't know how much of it was the fact that it wasn't as deep horror gorefest as it might have been, as you might expect from what Nathan was pitching the book as. Mm-hmm. But it felt more action-y than horror-y, and it was really built on the characters and on their connection with each other, and that's something that Nathan does really, really well, and it's something that appealed to me. Mm-hmm. So I really liked it. It was great listening to him read that. Yeah. And trying to get feedback other than "we love it, it's great, please more."
This is his first published.
It's first published, yes.
And it's impressive as a first published, because there's certain, what would you call them, things that people do in a first book, myself included, that are kind of like, goo. But I didn't notice that as much in this. This is my genre. This is urban fantasy with supernatural and a little bit of horror and a little bit of organized crime thrown in. It's the merging of the different genres with urban fantasy worked so well without being... The problem with some genres is if you go too far out, people get lost and confused, and they're like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" Like if you kill the main character in a romance, that's sort of like, what the did you do? But there's a certain wiggle room where if you push just a little far enough, it makes it extra interesting. Mm-hmm. And that's what this did. A lot of urban fantasy sides a little bit more on the romance than on the other side.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And this veers a little bit more towards the supernatural.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of romance in there. The only romance there is super
so
creepy and
cringy.
Problematic. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's addressed. Like it's never
yes. It's not
idealized.
It's not. It is very much like
so awful.
Yes. And it makes no secret of the fact that it's awful.
And I feel like a terrible person after reading the sequel and being happy with it. What happens? Well, not happy, but...
No, but I get what you mean.
Relieved.
It's just like... Yeah, you knew you had made a mistake there, Nathan.
There's some really interesting... I don't normally like drugs, cigarettes, alcohol, swearing, all that much. But it worked really well with this character.
Yeah.
Like, his addiction to cigarettes and the way he uses them as sort of like an emotional crutch.
Yeah.
Worked for me. Despite the fact that I really don't like smoking.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it struck me as something funny because Nathan would say when he was working, he was trying to quit smoking. And then he would work on these books and he would pick up the habit again.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. Having never been a smoker, I tend to, like, in my brain, try to switch it to coffee so that I understand a little bit better how the character is feeling.
Did it work?
Not really. Because I'm rarely on the side of the sidewalk waiting for someone going, I need to light up a coffee. It also works differently.
Yeah, it's not the same drug. It doesn't.
Yeah, I drink coffee for flavor. I don't feel the effect anymore because I'm over caffeinated all the time. Is there anything about the book you didn't like?
A couple of scenes here and there. Like, I remember, it's been a while since I've read it. I should have read it before that.
Yeah.
Oops. There was one scene when they're fighting the vampires, and I remember a description of one of Alex's main character poking the eye of one of the vampires, and it was graphic enough that I cringed.
Yeah, he couldn't access his powers, or something went wrong. He was too tired or something, and it's been a while since I read it too, unfortunately. Yeah, the book sort of oscillated between the graphic and the not graphic, so sometimes it really hit you. But I think it was supposed to.
Yeah, I think it was supposed. It's not a flaw against the book. It's just, something that hit me a little bit wrong. It made me personally uncomfortable.
It did some things that always make me happy, because there is some inspiration of superhero in there, and there's all that moment, not the first time he's fighting vampires, but near the end, where he just like heroes up and burns the shit out of everyone. That almost had me cheering, and I'm like, oh, how is this going to go badly?
Yeah.
For a supernatural horror urban fantasy with mafia, there's very little death.
Yes. Well, it helps that most of the villains are already dead.
Yeah, but I meant, like, there's very little other character death. Like, I was expecting, constantly expecting the head of the mafia guy, the Italian... Lupino, yes, to die. Or one of the kids, or the head of the orphanage guy, Éric, Alex.
Okay. Well, no, Alex is the main character. Éric is a vampire that he teams up with.
Yeah, who's Lupino's spoiler son. I was expecting it. No,
Éric is the other
one.
The one that becomes Alex's friend.
Yeah, he's the son. I was surprised. I thought that guy was going to be...
Dominic was the...
Dominic, yeah. I was expecting the guy who was Lupino's son to actually have been the father of Alex. So that was a nice surprise for me. I was like,
there wasn't that trope yet.
Yeah, I was so expecting the "I am your father" Star Wars trope. And I'm not sure if Nathan did it on purpose to sort of like make you think.
I'm gonna have to ask him that.
Yeah, but no, there was what was I? Wow, that was a very complicated set of sentences, and I don't remember my point.
We were trying to remember the name of the friend
who
takes care of the kids.
The guy, anyways, he's the head of household. He's really great with the kids.
My favorite. And if Nathan had killed him, I would never have forgiven him.
I really expected him to kill him because he was the only character that seemed to be genuinely pure in the entire book. He's the nice guy. He's good at what he does. He has no real ulterior motives other than wanting to take care of people. Yes. And normally in this kind of book, he's gonna die. But that didn't happen, and I think that's a good thing. A, because Nathan's not dead. You didn't kill him. But B, because it balances out the book. There's just so much dark and questionable characters that to have one person actually have Alex as the main character's respect and not lose it. Yeah, I liked it.
I agree.
As far as grayish characters go, his best friend, his enforcer, Jimmy is such an interesting character.
Is his name Luke?
Luke? Yes, the Luke. Guy from the dude is Luke.
That is Luke, and Jimmy is the best friend.
Jimmy is so messed dark, but he reminds me of people I know that I went to high school with, the ones who have like no social understanding that hurting people is wrong. So yeah, no, it was I both like and hate him.
I remember it's one thing that took Nathan by surprise during the reading groups and later when the book was published, and the feedback that he got was how much people loved Luke and Jimmy. I was in the clan that loved Luke to death.
Yeah.
And I will die defending him. And other people who absolutely adored Jimmy.
Yeah.
And thought he was so cool and such an interesting character. And Nathan was they were like placeholder characters for him. He did not expect that reaction.
Really?
He's just like, well, I need someone who's going to be like the beefy guy, the enforcer type with Alex, and I need someone who's going to be the one who takes care of the kids. And just blup, blup. And they ended up being amazing. Because that's the kind of writer Nathan is.
Yeah. I think this goes back a lot to what Sonia was saying, pretty much every second panel, where people put in their own stuff into the novel, and sometimes the novel takes its symbolism comes out on its own without the author's necessary input. So like Jimmy and Luke are perfect foils of Alex, because Alex wants to be tough, he wants to make Lupito proud, but his real motivation is to take care of people.
Yes.
But he has no idea how to do that without quite literally burning things down.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting to mix vampires and superpowers. I mean, vampires are in pretty much every urban fantasy.
Yes.
I know of no urban fantasy that has lasted more than 2 books that hasn't eventually gone to vampires.
Well, I mean, it is one of the prevalent myths of the world. I mean, every culture has some version of an undead.
Yeah. And they're fun to write because they're just genuinely evil. It's fun to have a genuinely evil character. Although, you can always go the morally gray area.
Yeah, I mean,
but
Éric isn't evil.
No, he's not evil. But the other ones, the bad vampires, are easy. You never feel bad about them dying because they're basically undead bloodsuckers.
Yeah.
So it's not like it was a Russian gang, for instance, which I think is hinted at from before.
Yeah, no, they took over the Russian gang.
But like, it's not like you're watching him burn down 4 or 5 to ash humans.
Yeah.
So, in a way, having something horrific like a vampire makes it less horrifying.
Yeah.
Interesting. By having something inhuman, it makes it less terrible to kill it.
Yeah.
But
it's one of the things that
Nathan doesn't spend too much time. There are 2 ways to do vampires. You do it, you add lore, you create my vampires are a different trope, and you go in depth with them, and he doesn't do that. He goes the opposite way, and like, there are vampires. Here are some basic rules. Now let's kill them. Which is kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
Because I can, like I said, I can count 4 or 5 urban fantasies that have completely different vampires. And I say that mockingly, having written vampires in one of my urban fantasy novels, that instead of blood, they drink spinal fluid.
In your book, or is
the 3rd Elizabeth book.
Oh, okay.
They drink cerebrospinal fluid, so they go from the back.
Interesting.
Yeah, I got the idea because my brother had he had a hole in his.
Oh.
So he would lose it in massive migraines. It fixed itself, but it would cause migraines and weakness, and
the human body is weird.
Yes, there is nothing weirder than the human body, except for the human mind. Back to the book. So this is the first in a series of 4 books. Is it finished?
It is finished in that.
The author isn't currently writing one.
The author isn't currently writing one. There was planned for a prequel story about like how Alex met Luke and Jimmy and Mr. Lupino, how he ended up in the orphanage, and how he ended up working his way up the ranks of the mafia. And there's been talk of a spin-off of the weird, creepy romance between Jimmy and Eric that develops over the...
Ooh.
Yeah, that's going to be a thing.
I didn't see hints of it in the second one, but I didn't...
It's more explicit in the third, and...
Probably. Yeah, the second one only has a little bit of, like... Alex is too busy trying not to get kidnapped again. I like that this stays small. It doesn't... It's really about Alex and his life and his stuff.
Yes.
So, yeah. I'm looking forward to reading the last two. I read the first two, and they're really, really... easy to read for something that could easily make me cringe between the drugs and the rapiness of one part and a few others. It's a really easy read. Nathan has a style that just makes you keep reading. I never go, okay, no more. I can't handle this. Go away.
That's true. It like skates the line between the... I mean, your mileage varies, obviously.
Yes, of course. Everyone has different preferences and styles, and I mean, again, I'm not the greatest person to review this because it falls directly into a cross-section of all my favorite kinds of books. I mean, if there's a little bit more romance in there, it might have hit everything on my list, but...
if it wasn't that weird
that's
scene that...
But it was also very realistic for the trauma that they went through, and it made sense, and if you're looking long-term... it's a great way to stabilize Alex's psyche and then destabilize. Great tension.
Yes.
Makes things really uncomfortable in the second book, which made me cry multiple times because there's a child. Nothing happens terrible to the child, but yeah, I'm a sap.
That is understandable.
Fourth
book, brace yourself.
Yeah. It's fun knowing the author of a book sometimes. No, it's fun when you read a book you enjoy and you know the author, because you can see parts of the author in the book. So the insecure, like parts of Alex, I can see where that came from in Nathan. A little bit of insecurity and all that different stuff, and yeah, and it's really cool to see Alex grow up in this, and I don't know. I feel like I'm just praising it. I do know one thing I don't like: the internal formatting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Early days, early Renaissance days. We've gotten better.
Yes, much better.
Yeah.
I remember the first time opening it, and I was like, "Oh no!" But Nathan's writing style actually made me look past the gigantic spaces that...
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. I mean, it was the first book we've ever published. It was the first time we tried.
Yeah, and I mean...
we made mistakes.
Absolutely. And it's completely understandable. And I'm talking from a person who's been doing internal layouts for stuff for 10 years. So my first thought was... should I volunteer? Oh goodness.
Yeah, no, we have a long way to go.
What else can we talk about? So much good parts of the book, but not... it's such a small book. Like, the story is very simple.
It's only like... excuse me, I'm just gonna...
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, there are a lot of spaces.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's only about 200 pages.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to check. And I'm trying to figure out if that bit there is... yeah, that's a preview. So, 227 pages.
Yeah, so
with the weird spacing.
Yeah. So it's not
short.
big, and it doesn't feel big, which is really nice.
It's a nice quick read.
Yeah. There have been a few books in that genre that feel big because they're so... not cringy, but like they go out of their way to make you feel uncomfortable. Yeah.
And there are others that are just so crazy. When I tried to read the Disappearing Nightly, and that was just so action packed and so crazy, breakneck.
Yeah.
Pacing that I couldn't keep up with it. This isn't.
Yeah,
that.
This is a nice. Like it does the balancing act where high action, and then there's a little bit of
a breather,
story breather, and which is important. I mean, Laura Resnick does get better at it as she goes in her series, but this is better paced for sure. What I like is how this book can appeal to so many different people. So like, it has that Sopranos, like mafia, in-depth psychology thing going, but it also has the like Dresden Files, woohoo, magic.
Yeah. And that makes it so hard to sell sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's one of the things that it has nothing to do with the book. And I mean, it worked, so I shouldn't complain about that. But one of the things that I never told that to Nathan, so he's going to watch the video and learn something.
No, I doubt he's going to watch. If I wouldn't watch it if it was my book.
Okay. Well, then in that case, when we first published the book and we were trying to sell it, going to all the conventions and stuff, we often went to the geekier conventions. Like, the only book convention that we really have in Ottawa is CanCon.
CanCon, yeah, and there was Pros in the Park, but that only happened once or
later.
Twice. Yeah.
Later, yeah, we didn't get the
there was only CanCon.
There was only CanCon, so we were going to more geek-related stuff where people didn't necessarily read books, and Nathan was trying to appeal to them on a different aspect. And the way that he chose to do it was, the people who hate Twilight are going to love this book. And I'm like, why do you have to? I mean, it was early 2010ish, and Twilight hate when I speak, so
yeah,
I understand.
Yeah, he wouldn't do that now.
He wouldn't do that now, and also
no, and I've found selling this book specifically is much easier to show people what they like.
Yeah,
but I find that's a Renaissance strength and weakness, is that you take books that are multiple genres and mush together. And I'm just as bad at writing those. I love smushing things together. It's like having Sonia's behind the camera giggling her head off. I like adding a little bit of like science fiction onto my fantasy, and a little bit of urban fantasy into my pure fantasy, and a little bit of reality TV into my books.
A bit of mystery and
which makes a book stronger if you can do it without breaking the reader's trust, like we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
You don't have a romance with a depressing ending, like a pure romance with a totally depressing ending. It sort of breaks
there's the reader-writer contract.
Yeah, so. You don't have an epic sword and sorcery where halfway through everyone just like sits down and gives up. That would, unless they get an epic speech to bring them back up afterwards.
Yeah, no, you don't.
First half of Lord of the Rings, let's get the ring. You know what? Let's go home. And the next half is just farming for a hobbit. Yeah. So as long as you don't break the promise you've made to the reader.
Yes.
It's awesome. Okay, so let's do star rating and final thoughts. Not in that order.
Final thoughts. I need to reread this book. It's been ages, and I did really like it. Like, I would class it easily a 4-star, even if I didn't know Nathan. I think I would really. It's something that if I could get past the okay, this doesn't look like my style, and which is a bit of an ironic twist. Like, I would not pick up the book if I didn't know Nathan, but I would be missing something because I really did enjoy it. 4-star-ish, yeah.
If I had seen it in a bookstore or a book sale or whatever, I probably would have bought it, even without knowing Nathan. And without the, I better buy their book so they're more interested in buying mine. It is very much my style, and I'm going to give it 5 stars because it works on every level. And I look forward to rereading it after I've read the full series, just to see what Nathan has built off of. Intentionally or unintentionally. All right, would you like to pick the next book?
Okay.
Please, not mine. I don't think mine's in there. Wait, mine should be? Ugh. Run away.
The Owl Service by Alan Garnier. What is that?
The Owl Service by Alan. I have no idea, but I am Guessing there are owls and maybe some fan service. No idea. But the next book is The Owl Surface by Alan Allo.
Ow!
Sarnier Garnier. Yeah.
Wait!
Can I have the writing expert?
Ghana. Alan Ghana.
Oh my.
G-A-R-N-E-R, yeah. Ghana. There's no I in there.
It looks like an eye.
Where?
Well, that
After the
little
M.
fleck there looks like an eye with...
Oh, I just...
No, that's just you messy.
Messing. Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so the next book will be Owl Service by Alan
Garner.
Garner. Ghana. Sorry, let me try this in Australian.
No.
Ghana.
Ghana is in the country? What was that?
I don't know. If you have any comments about blood relations, put them in the thing underneath us, and Sonia will lurk and say nice things to you. Unless you're a dick, in which case, who knows what she'll say. Probably nothing. If you would like to buy the book, however, it's available on Renaissance and Amazon.
Yes.
So don't forget to like, subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell, share with friends, send it to your late aunt, you know, all that kind of stuff. Bye. I need more coffee.
Send it to your late aunt. She's not gonna see it. She's the late aunt.